Hello viewers, welcome to the Mr. and Mrs. Money channel, where we showcase the richest people, and the most lavish, luxurious, and expensive things in the world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more money and luxury videos. For today's video, we have the top 15 most expensive artworks in the world. Starting off at number 15, the number 5 by Jackson Pollock, and it cost $140 million. The painting was created on fiberboard, also known as composition board, measuring 8 inches by 4 inches. For the paint, Pollock chose to use liquid paints. More specifically, they were synthetic resin paints, but are referred to as oil paints for classification of the work. According to a report in the New York Times on November 2, 2006, the painting was sold by David Geffen, founder of Geffen Records, and co-founder of DreamWorks SKG, to David Martinez, managing partner of Fintech Advisory Limited, in a private sale for a record inflation-adjusted price of $140 million. At number 14 is The 3 Studies of Lucien Freud by Francis Bacon, and it cost $142.4 million. Francis Bacon painted this piece, of his friend and rival Lucien Freud, in 1969. All 3 panels, in Bacon's typical abstract, distorted, isolated style, show Freud sitting on a cane-bottomed wooden chair within a cage, on a curved mottled brown surface with a solid orange background. Behind each figure is a headboard of a bed, originating in a set of photographs of Freud by John Deakin, which Bacon used as a reference. It became one of the most expensive and famous paintings ever, eventually catching the eye of Elaine Wynne, who bought it at auction in 2013. The sale was at the time a record auction price, however, it has since been surpassed by some of the other paintings on the list. At number 13 is the portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer II by Gustav Klimt, and it cost $150 million. Selling for a whopping $150 million in 2016, Portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer II is the less famous of the 2 portraits he painted of Bloch-Bauer. Unfortunately, both paintings were stolen by the Nazis during World War II. Luckily, however, they were retrieved and donated to Vienna's Gallery Belvedere Museum. In the fall of 2014, Adele Bloch-Bauer II was given as a special long-term loan to the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. After the Bloch-Bauer estate regained ownership, they sold it to Oprah Winfrey, who then sold it to an unknown Chinese buyer. At number 12 is the Le Rêve by Pablo Picasso, and it cost $155 million. Le Rêve, or The Dream as it translates, is one of Picasso's most iconic paintings. The piece of art is of Marie-Thérèse Walter, who was Picasso's mistress. The buyer who purchased Le Rêve at Christie's in 1997 appears to have been the Austrian-born investment fund manager, Wolfgang Flotten, who also briefly held Van Gogh's portrait of Dr. Gachet in possession in the late 1990s. And in 2001, casino tycoon Steve Wynn owned the artwork for 12 years, and agreed to sell it to Stephen A. Cohen in 2013. However, after a slip of an elbow from Mr. Wynn, the painting was devalued by $85 million and the deal was put on hold until it was fully restored. At number 11 is The New Couche by Amedeo Modigliani, and it cost $157.2 million. Modigliani's 1917 painting of a naked woman on a red sofa became a record-breaking piece of art when it sold at Sotheby's New York auction to an anonymous buyer in May 2018. The sale marks the highest price paid for a work at a Sotheby's public auction, a fact the firm was quick to point out in the auction room, and in a mid-sale press release. The artist also painted another very similar painting, New Couche, but this one is a lot bigger and captures the entire female figure from head to toe. Chinese stock market billionaire Liu Yiqian bought the piece to display in his Shanghai museums. Next on the list at number 10 is the masterpiece by Roy Lichtenstein, and it cost $165 million. The 10th most expensive painting in the world is Lichtenstein's 1962 masterpiece. According to the Lichtenstein Foundation website, Masterpiece was part of Lichtenstein's first exhibition at Ferus Gallery, in Los Angeles, from April 1 to April 27, 1963, featuring Drowning Girl, Portrait of Madame Cezanne, and other works from 1962 and 1963. The painting was inspired by comic book illustrations, and competes alongside some of his other famous pieces, including Wham! And Look Mickey. In 2017, hedge fund billionaire and avid art collector Stephen A. Cohen bought the piece for the hefty sum of $165 million. At number 9 is the new Couché by Amedeo Modigliani, and it cost $170.4 million. This is Modigliani's most famous nude, made public in 1917 at his solo exhibition in Paris. It depicts a naked woman on a red sofa, similar to the one we previously mentioned. The model was painted in a tiny, barely furnished room that contained little more than a couch and a bottle of brandy. The price set a world record for Modigliani, and it was the second highest price ever recorded at an auction for an artwork. However, this version was purchased for an astronomical sum by Chinese billionaire Liu Yiqian. It was reported that he purchased the piece in a single transaction using his American Express card. At number 8 is the Les Femmes d'Alger, version 0, by Pablo Picasso, and it cost $179.4 million. Les Femmes d'Alger, version 0, was part of the 1954-55 series from Picasso called Les Femmes d'Alger, Women of Algiers. It was the last of 15 versions in the series, which was considered to be a tribute to his friend, Henri Matisse. Until Salvatore Mundi broke the record, Les Femmes d'Alger, version 0, was the most expensive painting sold at auction for 2 years. The piece was purchased by Hamad bin Jassim bin Jaber Al Thani, the former Prime Minister of Qatar. At number 7 is the pendant portraits of Merton Soolmans and Owapian Coppet by Rembrandt, and it cost $180 million. The portraits were painted by Rembrandt upon the occasion of the wedding of Martin Soolmans and Owapian Coppet in 1634. Although the subjects were painted individually, these two Rembrandt paintings have never been separated. Unlike many 17th-century portrait pairs, these two have always hung side by side in various collections, based in Amsterdam or Paris. Art experts and historians agree that the paintings should always be displayed together and never apart. They were purchased by the Louvre and the Rijksmuseum in 2015, as a joint venture, each paying 50%. At number 6 is the number 6 by Mark Rothko, and it cost $186 million. It might not be to everyone's taste, but number 6, Violet, Green and Red, has had a profound influence on contemporary art since its release. The painting might be even more famous for being one of 36 pieces in the Bouvier affair. This is an ongoing court battle between Russian tycoon Dmitry Rybolovlev and his art dealer, Yves Bouvier. Dmitry claims that Yves defrauded him out of hundreds of millions of dollars, overcharging him for multiple paintings, which Yves strongly denies. We're down at number 5, the number 17A by Jackson Pollock, and it cost $200 million. This 1948 painting by Jackson Pollock was the second piece of artwork bought in a $500 million deal by hedge fund manager Kenneth C. Griffin in 2015. Number 17A lacks any sort of creative title, and is one of the best examples of the radical and exceptionally unique art form of drip painting, which Pollock introduced to the world in 1947. Initially, these drip paintings by Pollock were met with great public scrutiny, and were mostly unpopular and therefore had low value in art markets. Number 17A isn't on public display at the moment, however, there are many exceptional Pollock collections on display in museums around the world, including the New York's Museum of Modern Art, MoMA. At number 4 is the Ne fais pas époipo by Paul Gauguin, and it cost $210 million. French post-impressionist Paul Gauguin painted this piece when he was on his first trip to Tahiti. His hope was to find an Edenic paradise where he could create pure, primitive art, rather than the primitivist faux works being turned out by painters in France. It was one of many he painted of the native woman on the island, and its title translates to "When Will You Marry?" Gauguin commonly inscribed his paintings in Tahitian at this time. He was fascinated by the language, though never advanced beyond its rudiments. The artwork has also previously been called the most expensive painting in the world, selling for $210 million in 2015 after 2 years of negotiations. Coming up next is the top 3 most expensive artworks in the world. Just to let you know that if you'd like to know how to have a millionaire's mindset, have access to other millionaire-related stuff, or learn how to make money, do check out the resources in the description box below. Please also like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so that you stay updated with all our new video uploads. Okay, now here are the top 3 most expensive artworks in the world. Making to the top 3 is The Card Players by Paul Cezanne, and it cost $250 million. The third most expensive painting in the world is The Card Players by Paul Cezanne. Painted during Cezanne's final period in the early 1890s, there are 5 paintings in the series. The versions vary in size, the number of players, and the setting in which the game takes place. Cezanne also completed numerous drawings and studies in preparation for the Card Players series. It was purchased by the royal family of Qatar in 2011, reportedly paying double the existing record for any artwork to be sold at auction. At number 2 is The Interchange by Willem de Kooning, and it cost a massive $300 million. Willem de Kooning's famed 1955 piece was inspired by his surroundings whilst living in NYC, and commanded the highest price ever paid in a private sale. It was one of de Kooning's first abstract landscapes, and marked a change in his style under the influence of fellow artist, Franz Kline. Hedge fund billionaire Kenneth C. Griffin bought it alongside his Jackson Pollock No. 17A purchase, in a $500 million deal. If you want to take a look at one of the most expensive paintings in the world, then The Interchange is currently displayed at the Art Institute of Chicago. And finally, the most expensive artworks on the list. At number 1 is the Salvator Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci, and it cost an enormous $450.3 million. Leonardo da Vinci's depiction of Jesus Christ, holding a crystal orb, is the most expensive painting in the world. The painting was commissioned by King Louis XII of France in 1605, during the same period as the Mona Lisa. However, somewhere between 1763 and 1900, it disappeared from all records, until it was rediscovered in 2005, by a group of British art dealers. Purchasing the painting for $10,000, they spent 6 years restoring and investigating its history, before eventually announcing that it was a Da Vinci original. There you have it, the top 15 most expensive artworks in the world. If you have a particular video title you'd like us to create, put this in the comments box below and we'll see what we can do. Don't forget to check out the resources below. See you in the next video.